this is Tate, and welcome to TNA Post Show. As always, I'm joined by my co-host. He is a fourth Rascalz, and he allegedly has no relation to our international champion, Steve Maclin. He's the star of the show, and he's the one and only Burt Maclin.
How's it going?
It's going good. All right, Burt. So let's talk about Rebellion. You and I were both at the show.
Yes, I'm tired now. I'm so tired. It was a long weekend.
Did you go back home last night, or did you just go home this
I
morning?
got home today, but still, it was I got home today, but still, it was a very long weekend. I got there Saturday night, and then it was very fun though.
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh my God. I got home, even though I'm local, still it was a very tiring day. Very, very
Yeah.
tiring. So we got quite a few things to talk about. I was so happy because your girl was front row at Rebellion. I was behind the French commentary team. So anybody watching, if you guys watched Rebellion, let me know if you guys spotted me. I did come out a couple times. I know people told me that they did spot me. So if you're in the chat or you're watching, let me know in the live chat in the comment section if you were able to spot me during TNA Rebellion. All right, let's talk. Oh, before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelics, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptogens, and it has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasty, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you are trying to learn that new move, it will actually stick in your head rather than you forgetting it immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max blood flow and overall endurance. It has relish, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system. And we all know y'all need that on those nasty ass gym mats. On top of that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to eatshroombar.com and use code BODYSLAM at checkout for 25% off your first order.
Definitely.
One of these days, I'm going to get a Shroom Bar. Okay. So, let's kick things off talking about this main event, the 3-way for the TNA World title. So, I have to say, I don't know about you, but I was really, really surprised by the outcome of this match. Don't get me wrong, I thought it was a great match, but I was surprised that Joe Hendry won here. And look, I've said this before and I've said it a million times. Everybody watching our podcast, our weekly podcast, knows that I believe in 252 pounds of pure motivation, the answer to all of life's problems. Everybody knows I believe in Joe Hendry. But I thought that this was Frankie Kazarian's moment. You and I have been talking about for weeks, actually for months, probably since the LA show was announced. We thought this was going to be Frankie Kazarian's moment. He was going to win the TNA title in his hometown of LA. And obviously the next in line would have been Mike Santana in New York at Slammiversary. What were your thoughts on this match? Sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, especially just because Santana, and we'll talk about it, got that huge win. And what I think was probably the match of the night. But yeah. And also, you could have made the case that if Joe Hendry is really legit banged up, and he has been working a lot WrestleMania week, he's on NXT quite a bit, you could have made the case to maybe just give Kazarian, take the title off of him, don't even have Joe Hendry get pinned, kind of have him maybe go out with an injury in the match, have Kazarian pin Ethan, give Kazarian a quick run, not like a quick reign, but like 2 to 3 months, have Joe Hendry take the belt off of him. You know what I mean? If that's where they want to go. But yeah, like we talked about, I thought Kazarian deserved to win. And I know it's wrestling, you know what I mean? You could take it that way, deserve. You could take that way, when I mean deserve, any way you want. But I basically think if Kazarian is a TNA lifer, I would say he spent more of his years in TNA, and he hasn't won the big one. So I thought this was the chance.
And you know what the worst part of is? His wife was there, his kid was there, his mom was there, Scorpio Sky was there. I was like, okay. When I saw them, I was like, oh my God, Frankie's going to win. And then the match ended, and I was like, he didn't win. I'm like, what's going on here? I kind of thought because Joe Henry was still in the ring, I was like, oh my God, is he going to like pull a fast one and still try to call his shot? Like, what's going to happen here? That didn't happen. So I was really, really shocked by this. My mouth dropped. I don't know if you guys can see that during the replay. Maybe because I had my phone in my face, but I was pretty shocked. My jaw was dropped. But at the end of this match, Joe Henry was attacked by Trick Williams. Our thumbnail, the photo that I used for Trick Williams is the one that I took at the show. So I feel like the reason why Joe retained, they must be setting something here up with Trick Williams and Joe Henry, maybe for the NXT title, possibly at Under Siege, you think? Or maybe on an show?
I could see that. Let me just say real quick first, and if anyone in the comments wants to watch NXT, real quick, I think Trick would benefit going to TNA on a permanent basis, because I think the plan is for him to. I think that he's going to the main roster sooner, if not later. But I just don't see him. I see him getting lost in the shuffle in the immediate, and I think that TNA. I think he'd be a big fish in a smaller pond, but I think that he would get more work in. And then besides that, obviously, we're talking about the potential match. I could see that just because in the immediate, I don't think that there's a clear-cut opponent for Joe Henry that I could think of because Under Siege is May, right?
Yeah, May.
Yeah. So that'd be fine.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like they're going with Trick Williams versus Joe Henry. Would be interesting to see if Trick Williams makes history here, but we'll see where that goes. But any more final thoughts on the main event, Joe Henry retaining and Trick Williams, or should we move on to the countdown?
I think I don't think this ever weighs into it, but if I could see the plan being changed, like with the plan being, if we're going to have the Nemeths walk out as tag team champions, we probably don't want to have the next over guy lose the title. You know what I mean? In back-to-back matches, I think the crowd would be pretty pissed. So I think Joe Henry winning was a safe bet and was the right choice.
Do you think? Okay, let me see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can remember how the scenario went. Do you think this is going to be a 2020 situation here with Kenny Omega, where Kenny Omega captured the Impact World title, and then all these TNA guys try to get the title back until it was Josh versus Christian? So, do you think that maybe we'll get Trick Williams taking the title off of Joe Henry?
I don't think
Mike Santana being the one to bring the title back to TNA at Slammiversary.
I'm glad you now that I'm glad you asked that, because I think we should kind of maybe talk about, as an expression, the elephant in the room. No, I don't think Trick Williams is going to take it, but that brings me to my next point. I'm sure you and everyone who's watching has heard that supposed rumor that there was supposed to be something with The Miz and TNA versus Joe Henry.
Mm-hmm.
You just asking that makes me work. I think if anyone's going to probably take the title off Joe Henry, it would probably be The Miz. And for whatever people think, there's some people that think that would be a big deal. There's some people that think that The Miz is still a big star. And you could argue that in TNA's world, that could be true. And so if we go to another situation where they repeat the same storyline of somebody from TNA having to win back the title from now being WWE or /NXT, yeah, I'd be fine with that. And honestly, again, some people could say too, and it wasn't during the. I think there were fans when Christian won it back, but again, Christian wasn't technically a TNA guy. He was a former TNA guy in AEW. So, and also as well, I don't think Christian, if you look at the cumulative time, I would say that Santana has probably had more years in TNA than Christian. He was in TNA briefly twice, I believe. But yeah, if they go back that route, and let's say Santana, and again, we have no proof of this. I just saw the rumor. I think you saw it as well. That the Miz was there was rumor of Miz might be coming in, and then there was that tweet about a wrestler with a tour bus. You know what I mean? So I think they might be going in the direction that somebody from the partnership take the title off Joe. I think that's a possibility.
Santana or Ali will take the title off of Joe. Okay, if it's Santana, it has to be at Slammiversary. They didn't put the title on Kaz in Rebellion here in LA. They need to put the title on Santana at Slammiversary. I don't think that there would be a bigger moment to end Slammiversary than that. Just imagine Santana celebrating in his home state of New York.
And yeah, I would stay away from Ali versus Santana and maybe do Ali taking the title off Santana, and then you could run it, but I wouldn't have them face off against each other. Technically, I guess they've had how many matches now? 2? They're 1-1.
Yeah. No, 2-1.
So
remember Santana beat Ali by countout?
Okay. So I guess technically they could do one more match, but I agree with you that Santana should walk out because it also right now Santana is the bigger star than Kazarian. They're really building something with him. I think the longevity factor is also there as well. Santana's going to be a star for them for a few, for at least 5 years. So yeah, I think they have to do that at Slammiversary. Santana has to win, and whether that's against Joe or if it has to be against somebody with WWE, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Because also, too, that's a big building they're trying to sell out. And again, Santana versus, if you put the Miz on the card, however people feel about it, that might draw. Some people think it will.
Oh, we gotta wait and see what happens. Alrighty, so the countdown to Rebellion kicked off with a 6-woman tag match. It was Fatal Influence versus Rosemary, Brookside, and Ying. So I thought this was a fun match, a good way to kick off the countdown. A Fatal Influence won here. So I wonder if we're going to see more Fatal Influence going forward here, especially when it comes to the Knockouts tag titles, which we'll get more into when we get into that match. But what were your thoughts on this match?
That's very smart. They had to give NXT something. I didn't think they were going to take L's all over the show. If I was TNA, I would sign all 3 of them. But again, that's just me, just because I see the future beautiful people in the group or just a similar footprint. But yeah, I know this was a fun match.
It was.
I love multi-person matches on the pre-show. I think that's where that's the best place for those matches.
Same. Okay, so next we had the Walk with Elijah Open Challenge, and there was so much speculation as to who would answer this Open Challenge. I couldn't think of anybody. We both kind of thought that it was going to be someone from NXT, and actually ended up being none other than hilarious Shane Haste from TMDK. I was not expecting this. This was a total surprise. This was like someone from New Japan was like the last person on my mind. Honestly, I'm gonna be totally honest here. But I thought this was a good match. I really did. I thought it was a fun little match, a good match for the countdown. What'd you think of this? And what were your thoughts on Shane Haste being the one to answer Elijah's Open Challenge?
I'm not gonna do a full blown Shane Haste carry job. I will say that this was a good opponent for Elijah, just because Shane is a veteran and I very underrated. And again, the New Japan, that style, again, it's way different than anything Elijah was doing in WWE. But with that being said, I would say that this is Elijah's best match that I've seen, not just in TNA, but probably I don't remember him having this good of a match in WWE. And I'm not saying it's all Shane. I'm giving him a big chunk of it. But Elijah held his own in there. He looked really good. It's a 6-minute match. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You could be generous and say he didn't mess anything up, and that qualifies as him having a good match. But I don't see it like that.
I thought it was going to be Trevor Lee. Oh, that was a good guess. I didn't even think about Trevor Lee. I totally forgot. about Trevor Lee. Yeah,
If anything, I would have rather had Trevor Lee be a surprise in the Ultimate X match, but no, yeah, that'd been cool if it was Trevor Lee.
When you think about it, Shane Hayes makes sense because, like, if you were going to get Elijah the victory, you definitely needed someone who could take the L here. You didn't want to have Elijah take the L on his own open challenge, especially if it was against, like a new wrestler, a new signee, anything like that.
Yeah.
So next, we got one of my favorite matches of the night, the Ultimate X match for the TNA X Division title. Holy shit, what a banger to kick off a Rebellion. Leon Slater was the MVP of this match.
Yeah, it was. And it was a little scary moment with that dive that he hit. You know what I mean? I'm not putting any blame on anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Things happen like that in wrestling. But with that being said, he was the MVP. And I can't remember them. I kind of had to remind myself that you have to get down with the belt and touch the, you know what I mean? And so the finish of Moose kind of spearing him almost out of midair and then grabbing the belt is very clever. And now, obviously, we know where we're going. So it's just only a matter of time because that's the only match that should be booked is Moose dropping the title to Leon Slater. I think most people would agree with that. That has to be the match.
Before I give my thoughts before I follow up to that, I just want to say, like, another spot in this match that was kind of crazy was that destroyer that El Hijo de Vikingo did to Sidney Akeem on the ring apron. That shit was crazy. That, and then Lish climbing the structure. I was like, go Lish, go.
I also thought AJ Francis getting involved was very fun as well.
Yeah, he put Casey Navarro on his shoulders. I thought a hilarious spot was at the beginning where Moose put the chair and he tried to reach the title. That was hilarious. But I have to agree with you. I really thought the finisher was creative. It definitely seemed kind of like a screwy finish here, but I do see where it's going. We're gonna get Leon Slater versus Moose. I don't know if we're gonna get a couple matches out of this, but I definitely do see that that's the direction. Leon Slater will be the one to take that X Division title off of Moose and officially break Amazing Red's record.
Yeah.
And it has to happen. If we want a big moment for Slammiversary, Leon Slater, that's a big moment for Leon Slater. It has to happen at Slammiversary because it cannot happen at Bound for Glory. He will not break the record if it happens at Bound for Glory because he turns 21 on September 20th, I believe. So, but yeah, I do agree. That's the plan. Leon Slater versus Moose. It definitely seemed like a screwy finish. That's just the way it ended. But this was a fun match. One of my favorite matches of the night. Next, we get the Fatal 4-Way match for the TNA Knockouts titles. It was at the Elegance brand versus Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend versus Spitfire versus Gigi, Dolan, and Tatum Paxley. So, again, I thought this was a fun match. I think all the ladies knocked it out of the park. I thought that if we were going to make history, and we were going to sacrifice a title to NXT, I thought for sure the Knockouts tag titles would be the ones that would get sacrificed here. I was surprised the Elegance brand won, but now I'm kind of curious where we go from here. Because, again, we're out of tag teams, so maybe they feud with these teams individually. I feel like this match should have been saved for further down the road. We should have had, like, individual feuds for the Elegance brand. But this was a fun match. Like I said, if we were going to sacrifice titles to NXT, I think these would have been the ones to sacrifice.
Well, I think you can kind of, for right now, the time being, look at the TNA Knockouts titles as kind of being like the WWE women's tag team titles, how they're across all three of their brands. You know what I mean? So I think you'll see this title. I think that's another reason why you'll see this title maybe a few times go to somebody from NXT, just because until, and again, I don't know if we talked about it. I'm very tired. There was news of the signing of Indy Hartwell. So a tag team of her and SDL could be around the corner. So, they are building more teams, it seems like. Because I think they might do something with either Rosemary Xylee or Zy Brookside and Ying Lee, or Rosemary and Zy, one of those. So I think they are planning something.
The thing with Indy Hartwell and STL, I could see that happening, but I think it has to be it would have to come later, because I think STL is still recovering from her neck injury, right?
Yeah. We don't know her. We don't know the timetable, but
but I can see that happening.
And also, Killer Kelly and Kylan King are still signed. So
we'll see when they come back. All right. So next we get a 6-man tag match. This was Ace Austin and the Rascalz, Smoke 'em if you got 'em, versus the System. Now this was originally supposed to be Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, and JDC, but due to travel issues, JDC was unable to show up, so Moose filled in for him. Moose doing double duty here. Now this was a fun match. The Rascalz and Ace Austin did have Sean Waltman, aka X-Pac, at ringside. I really like the tribute to DX with the DX colors and stuff like that. Interesting way this finished. Zachary Wentz pinned Moose. So because of that, I do feel like Zachary Wentz is going to, I feel like, knowing Moose, he's going to want to avoid Leon Slater for the time being.
Yeah.
So I think his next opponent is Zachary Wentz, because Zachary Wentz pinned him in this match.
Yeah, also too, just because this could be a quick, because that could be a quick match. You maybe want a little more time to build the Leon Slater, and we don't know the status after that, if he's injured. So when saying that he was the one that got the pin, that could lead to either a TV match or the Under Siege match.
I have a feeling this is going to be your Under Siege match.
And also, let me just add, the bad night continued for Alicia in this match, who got hit with an X Factor by, and the crowd popped for that, but damn them. Poor Alicia.
We have 2 specials in between Slammiversary. So we have Under Siege in May, and then Against All Odds in June. And then it's Slammiversary in July. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely do think, like I said, Zachary Wentz is going to be Moose's Under Siege opponent, because he's going to want to avoid Leon Slater for the time being.
Yeah. And before we go on, I want to just mention this week's podcast is sponsored by Shroom Bar, the protein mushroom bar. It's made up of not psychedelics, but 4 powerful mushroom adaptions. Sorry. It has lion's mane, which increases focus, memory, and neuroplasticity, making it easier to form new patterns and learn new things. Next time you're trying to learn that new move, will actually stick in your head instead of forgetting it immediately. It has cordyceps, which increases VO2 max, blood flow, and overall endurance. It has reishi, which decreases stress. It has turkey tail, which boosts your immune system. We all know you're going to need that on those nasty-ass gym mats. On top of all that, it has 12 grams of protein. Go to eatshroombar.com and use code BODYSLAM at checkout for 25% off your first order.
Awesome, yeah. So make sure you guys check out Shroom Bar. All right. So next we had a Steve Maclin versus Eric Young for the international title. I can't believe I'm saying this, because I'm a massive Steve Maclin fan. I wasn't a huge fan of this match. I felt like out of all the matches, I kind of feel like this was kind of like the weakest one. Honestly, I just wasn't a huge fan of this.
I also think
wanted more from it. Huh?
Yeah, I also think this feud's just run its course. That you need to get Steve, because also too, the goal of the Northern Armory should be feuding with Steve Maclin. It should be trying to get Travis Williams and Judas Icarus elevated to tag team title status. So that's my personal opinion. Let's Also too, I think once the DMC title was dropped, and this title, given the name, this is a title you also see defended in not just NXT but other promotions as well. You know what I mean? This is going to be the one. It's the international title. You know what I mean? This is going to be the traveling title.
You know, I have to agree. I'm kind of getting tired of this Eric Young, Steve Maclin feud. I feel like where are we going to go with this? Like, you know, I'm kind of like trying to figure out where we're going with this, and I can't seem to figure it out. And I do agree about Travis Williams and Judas Icarus. They do need to be elevated here. I think that they definitely have potential to be tag team champions, but we have to elevate them here. Like, they need to enter the tag team division. You know, Eric Young needs to send them into the tag team division, and so far we haven't gotten that yet.
It's been time, so
yeah, we have to move on from the Steve Maclin Eric Young feud. You either have Steve Maclin join the Northern Armory, or you have Eric Young take the international title off of Steve Maclin. But we have to move on from this feud.
Yeah, that was like the thing, because they really didn't do much under Josh. It wasn't like they were together much, but that was kind of the thing we were hoping for when Eric Young took the reins. And he even kind of alluded to that he was kind of trying to like make them stars. You know what I mean?
The thing with Josh was that it's just because he left. You know, I feel like we don't know where they would have gone with Josh had he stayed.
And and I don't think the plan was the plan. I think the plan was more when they made that group. I think they knew Josh was leaving. They were just more of his body. You know what I mean? Kind of like his J&J security.
Yeah, I feel like it was kind of his way of putting them over on his way out, pretty much. All right. So next we got my second favorite match of the night. The Falls Count Anywhere match with Mike Santana versus Mustafa Ali. Oh my god. Fucking match. Like,
this is the best match of the night.
I will say I was so worried for Ali when he did that spot and he hit his head on the steel steps. I was like, oh my god.
I actually was worried about a different spot, the where he looked like he tweaked his ankle a little bit.
Oh.
So, but again, so long that
was it when he was on the rope? Was it?
I believe so. It just seemed like he messed up his ankle a little bit. I think maybe when he went to the outside, I think it was like right before Tasha intervened.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Tasha, she went through a table. Good. Oh, yeah. The Great Ones got handcuffed. I love the finish was great. You know what I mean? Like Santana needed to win this match. This was a great match.
Yeah, this was a fucking match. I got a sick picture of Santana with the blood on his head, in his face. I mean, I was like, oh, this was good. This was a great match. Santana slowly rising to the top to challenge for that world title, which again should happen at Slammiversary. But we'll see if he actually wins, because we all thought Frankie Kazarian was going to win at Rebellion. He didn't.
Yeah.
So, but overall, great match. We'll see where Ali goes from here. But definitely Mike Santana is on his way to that TNA world title. Next, we get the Knockouts title match. This was Masha Slamovich versus Tessa Blanchard. I know you were concerned about this match. I think a lot of people were. I definitely thought this was a great match. Like I said, this is actually the first time I got to see Tessa Blanchard wrestle live. So, she's pretty good. She's pretty good, I will say. I was surprised that Masha made her tap out, though. I was not expecting a tap out finish, if anything, but I think it gives Masha that rub that she made Tessa Blanchard tap out. I don't know if she's ever tapped out. Did she previously tap out, or is this the first time she tapped out?
I'm not sure. Two things. Oh, sorry. Keep going. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, but I thought this was a good match. And I think it was the right to call to have Masha retain.
Well, yeah, they gave Tessa a lot. You know what I mean? She hit multiple big moves. She hit her finisher. You know what I mean? So I just want to say, I've seen Tessa matches. I've seen Tessa matches since, but I don't think I've never been there live for a Tessa match. But it just happens to be that my first time seeing Tessa live is when she has all this controversy. And I'll just say, the chants against her are very real and very loud. There were very, very vocal chants of she's a racist in the building. I was sitting, there were some people, I heard some people, it looked like maybe 6 people that were trying to get a let's go Tessa chant. I'm not going to go into more of anything on that. But yeah, I definitely think not putting the title on her at this point was smart. One, because I don't think Masha needs to lose the title, because I don't think that they've made her look like a dominant champion yet in this run, because they need to start booking her back to when she was putting people on her hit list. You know what I mean? So I like this submission victory in that. And 2, yeah, I think that the Tessa being a champion it's too hot right now in a negative way. There's too much bad heat on it. That wouldn't go over well.
Io says Rebellion was good. LA crowd was pumped. Hell yeah, we were pumped.
That's a very good building, so they should definitely run that building often.
Yeah. If and when they come back to LA.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm kind of curious to see how the crowd would have reacted had Tessa won. I don't know if there would have been a riot, but I definitely you're right. I did hear the she's a racist chants. I could hear it behind me. I was able to hear it from people behind me. But yeah, this was the right call. Masha needed to retain, and I do hope that they do go back to that whole the way she was when she first came into the company. Like you said, she had her hit list and she was just a complete badass. They do need to go back to that old Masha.
Me personally, I would have Killer Kelly take the title off Masha, just because I think there's a story there. Just because they're former tag team partners, and you could do something with that. You know what I mean?
MK Ultra.
And I think Killer Kelly was somebody that they had plans to be one of their top stars in the singles division. So
yeah.
I think the pop, if Tessa won, would be equivalent in a negative terms of the positive pop the Hardy. We're about to talk about it. Jesus Christ, the pop for anyone who doesn't think that their Hardys are not rock stars still, especially in the world of TNA, are idiots. That was like the loudest thing I've ever heard. And I've been to wrestling shows that were bigger than that. That was insane. They're so over still.
So last but certainly not least, we're the TNA tag team title match, the Nemeths versus the Hardys. I called the Nemeths to win this, and I was right. The Nemeths did win. I thought that the Nemeths worked really well together. I thought that again, like I've given Ryan Nemeth props for being able to portray the annoying little brother, and he turned it up a notch. So I would have been surprised if the Hardys retained here because, like I said last week, I don't know if you watched the show last week. If not the Nemeths, who would have taken those titles off the Hardys? Like the Great Hands. Come on. Like I like the Great Hands. I've given them praise, but I don't think they would have been able to take the titles off the Hardys. And like we mentioned earlier, Sinner and State, Travis Williams, Judas Icarus, they haven't been built enough to be believable contenders to take the belts off the Hardys. So it had to have been the Nemeths.
Yeah, because since there's not really a team right now that are at the point where a win against the Hardys would just put them super over, the next best thing is what's going to get the most heat. And yeah, the Nemeths obviously putting a title on Ryan Nemeth. And again, this match wasn't great. Again, the problem is, and nothing against Ryan, Nick can only do so much. And it'd be one thing if there was 2 Nicks on the team just because again the Hardys are older. You know, they can only do so much. They don't move like they used to. So like again, Nick does a lot of the work. You know, Ryan's more of the comedy guy. Like the finish, I believe Ryan got the pin, right? Like that's what he was there for. That's kind of the whole gimmick is, you know, Ryan's riding off Nick's coattails. But yeah, again, and also I think we've talked about is one of the shows in between Slammiversary and Canada.
I don't think a show. I think it's just a taping.
So essentially, they wouldn't. It's not like they had to get the titles up the Hardy, but we all know that Jeff is not able to go to Canada. So, you know, whether that factored into the plans, you know, I don't know.
No, you're right. Under Siege, Brampton, Ontario.
So yeah, that you had to get the titles off them now. Just I don't think you'd not want the tag team titles on the show. Even though the Hardys, even if they weren't the champions, they would still be on the show. But, you know, Jeff can't be there, you know what I mean? So might as well just kind of get the titles off them.
Mm-hmm. Let me see. Io says Nick was a quarterback and 9-man. Under Siege is in Toronto? Okay.
So as far as who should beat the Nemeths, I would probably go, with the Rascalz. Because, again, it's got to be a face team. So, really, they're the top face team on the roster. So, I would go with them.
I think if that happened, I think the Nemeths will probably get, like, a decent run. So, since they just won the title, I could see them having their first offense at Under Siege. I could see them holding the belts until at least Slammiversary. I don't think they go past Slammiversary with the tag belts.
No.
But you definitely need to build up a team. So if it's, let's say if it's the Rascalz that take the Nemeths, they take the belts off the Nemeths, you still have to build up other teams, like build up the Great Hands, build up, you know, Sinner and Saint. Like I've always said this before, I'm a big fan of the Great Hands. I think they're so underrated and underappreciated. Like they don't get enough credit for the work that they've done. And even if they win the titles, and even if they only hold them for like a month, like let's say they would hypothetically would win at Under Siege, have them drop it at Against All Odds, and that'd be okay. You know?
Even though they're I think the plan they need to get the titles on First Class.
Yeah, them too.
I think that'd be another good I think that'd be a smart idea as well.
The thing with First Class is like, again, with just like with Great Hands and Sinner and Saint, like they haven't had much momentum as of late. AJ Francis, yes, but as a tag team, I don't think they've had enough momentum. They had momentum, and then for whatever reason, their momentum stopped. They got to build up that momentum again. You know, I think the Rascalz versus a First Class would be a great feud.
Yes,
especially because you have Casey Navarro, who is this agile, speed. And he has the speed against the Rascalz. Yeah, I feel like Casey Navarro and the Rascalz are evenly matched. But then you still have AJ Francis, who's like a powerhouse. I definitely do see them together taking those tag titles off the Rascalz. But again, like I said before, you still have to build up other teams, Sinner and Say and the Great Hands. But I would like to see First Class win the tag titles. You know, I may be poor and fly economy half the time, but I can get with First Class.
I think also choose because they are also you could put singles titles on each of them as well. So
yeah.
But I think right now I would put the tag team titles on them on First Class. But then the first to Nemeths, I wouldn't do that.
And it really does suck because like it's great that each Casey Navarro and AJ Francis are going after singles gold. You know, AJ Francis went after international, and Casey Navarro obviously committed Ultimate X. But again, I would like to see them win the tag titles. They've challenged for the tag titles, no? Or they haven't? I don't remember.
I think so. I think they had a match against the Hardys on TV.
Yeah. So, I definitely would like to see them become tag team champions too before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because at some point, something's got to give.
Yeah.
All right. So, any last comments you want to say before we sign
No,
off?
I thought that was a really solid show. And again, it was very fun there to be there live. TNA is always really fun to see in person. And yeah, good shit again from TNA.
So, this was, I believe, their first show in LA, and I think they knocked it out of the park. This was such a fun show. It was my first time being in front row. I still couldn't see that. I didn't realize how high that barricade was.
Mm-hmm.
But I had fun. I definitely hope that the next time I go to a TNA show, I could definitely be front row. I hope I would like to be front row again. If not, it's okay. But this was a really fun show. This was a great show. I definitely would have going to back to the Falls Count Anywhere match. I think it would have been fun to see the match go outside of the Gallon Center. I think that would have been really fun. But overall, a fucking great show. They definitely knocked it out of the park. And I cannot wait to see what Under Siege has in store for us. And I hope that they come back to LA.
Yeah. Really, I would take anywhere in California.
Except Irvine. I'm not going to Irvine.
Yeah.
Io says, will y'all go back next time they come to California? LO, maybe not this Irvine. Yeah, I definitely would go. Depending on where in California, okay? I'm not going to Irvine. Long Beach, the LBC, I could do that. That's not a far drive, but it's still traffic down there is bad. But I would go to the LBC. I would go to Hollywood. I'd go to Anaheim.
They definitely should run up north. Like San Francisco's a very good draws. You know what I mean? San Diego's also just because, you know what I mean? That's another good area.
San Francisco, I can see. San Diego, I can see. You definitely want to pick towns that people would travel to. I would do San Francisco. I would do San Diego. I wouldn't do Fresno.
Yeah, and like, yeah, obviously, you know, how they mentioned Long Beach. I believe it's the Walter Pyramid that usually runs New Japan. That's a really cool venue. I would love to see a show there.
Mm-hmm. But like, we can only hope. Hopefully, they do return to LA. I definitely would like to come back.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. All right, Bert, where can people find you?
Just on Twitter at BertMaclin11.
You can follow me on Twitter at @the_. I talk Raw, SmackDown, occasionally AEW Dynamite, of course, TNA Impact, and Friday Night SmackDown. I go live on my channel, Rangers of Wrestling, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, occasional Saturdays and Sundays, and of course, for all things TNA, you catch me here on Impact, here on Body Slam every Thursday. Like I said, I did go to Rebellion. I do have videos that I uploaded. I uploaded Trick Williams attacking Joe Hendry. I uploaded Moose winning the Ultimate X. I do have Licious spot when she climbed the structure, so I'm gonna definitely be uploading that one. So feel free to check out my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, too, if you did watch TNA Rebellion, like I said, I was front row. I was behind the French commentary table. So if you spotted me, let me know in the live chat or in the comment section down below. Thank you guys all so much for watching. And for the continued support, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever we go live or whenever Body Slam goes live. And we'll see you guys Thursday for the fallout from Rebellion. Bye.